Hey, on this episode of Taskforce Geek, we're looking at the crushing exodus from Diamond Comic Distributors and what it means for independent comics and your local comic book store. We'll wax poetic on our favorite video game consoles over the years. And if we have time, we'll talk BRZRKR and Keanu Reeves, and that's all coming up now. Welcome to Taskforce Geek. My name is Derek Hooper, and today I am joined by Sean.
Yep.
I'm hearing an echo from someone.
It ain't me.
And our buddy, everyone always says that, our buddy Gary. We'll talk about who Gary is and what's going on with him soon. And from the abyss of overtime, back from the dead, we have Scott Prime. There he is. There he is, folks. It's happening.
The king has re-arisen. I'm back. Howdy, everybody.
This is a momentous occasion.
Yeah, I'm sure so many people are like, oh, let's turn the channel now.
We just lost 4 people.
Where's Walt?
Scott, you have known Gary for a while. You want to talk a little bit about how long you guys have known each other?
We've known each other longer than most people on the planet know each other. Like me and
most
Gary
people have been alive.
That's right. That's right.
Honest to God, me and Gary's known each other for just under 35 years.
We're all here, man.
Oh, am I talking
Take a
too
deep
loud?
breath, dude.
I get really excited.
Okay, fine.
Just take a deep breath, man. It's all good.
A long time.
Just under 35 years, me and Gary have been friends.
That's a long time.
The only friend on this planet I have longer, and Gary has the same answer, is Robert Henry, Robert knew Gary, I think, about a year before I did.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They played soccer together, 6 months to a year. And, I knew Robert probably for about 3 years before Gary did.
Really?
So we both share the longest friend ever. So
you both knew Robert, but you didn't meet until...
Yeah, we went to different schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went to... In the Choctaw universe of the world of Choctaw, Oklahoma, there is a junior high. The junior highs are split. Even though I lived in Choctaw, I went to Nakoma Park. And even though Gary lived in Choctaw, he went to Choctaw Junior High. In middle school and stuff like that. So we finally met up and we met each other 8th grade, right, Gary?
Mm-hmm.
I believe. And then Gary transferred over that 9th grade year, and the rest is history. And that's kind of how we've had our triad of 3 brothers from another mother for a very long time. So it usually shocks people knowing that I have 2 friends that I've known for over 34 years.
It's pretty, Gary doesn't live on Mars. I mean, he's close.
Right.
You guys still hang out.
But there's been times, Gary moved away for a while, Robert went away for a while, and everything else, and we've always,
That's true.
Our everything's always twined back together on this string, and just a long history there, and it's pretty amazing. Like I said, a lot of people, I've heard it multiple times from different sources. Like, you got 2 friends that, that long, most people don't even have 1. So yeah, we're pretty fortunate. So
yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we grew up together constantly. A high school tradition was when my dad went through his divorce, from that moment on, I believe he'd cook a roast or something every Sunday night, and almost every Sunday night I was either at Gary's house or Gary was at my house, and we'd eat a good meal, and then we'd watch Star Trek until the wee hours of the morning, and we'd still get up and go to school, and our parents
mainly Scott's house, because I grew up, let's say, with not a lot of money. So, I didn't have any heat and air at my house. I'd go to Scott's house for the air conditioning. So.
And Scott didn't realize that till many, many, many years later, how blessed and spoiled I was. So
Pump is in heaven right now because you guys are talking about old times in Choctaw.
For sure.
This is going to be his golden episode here. All right. We are broadcasting live from my Facebook account, which is that right there. We are also broadcasting from YouTube live and on Twitch because we continue to get some traction on Twitch, which is incredible. How did that happen?
Well, I've got a big following, so expect
your big Twitch following. That's what's bringing it to us today.
Right.
We need that Twitch bump.
We do. We need all of that. Hey, where's our share team? If you are watching us live, no matter where it is, whatever platform, then please share us on your platform so your platform becomes our platform, and we get a few more viewers on here, and we want to invite everyone to chime in. Speaking of that, let's see what people are saying. Steve says, greetings, fam. The Prime Father returns.
Prime Father.
That's what he needs as another nickname.
Yeah.
You were asking where Walt is? There he is.
Hi, Walt.
There's Walt.
Well,
here comes Ronnie. Hey, boys. Hey, guys. Boy, do I sure miss Walt. Oh, and hey, welcome back, Scott.
Yeah. I expect to get a lot of NBA watchers to watch us since Gary
Walt
knows
says
about
he
half
gets
the NBA.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. Sean and I had a regular thing that we called Gary Cam, where during Thunder broadcast,
Dude, we all had Gary Cam.
we would look for appearances.
I almost wanted to make it a drinking game because
right.
Every
like,
time
there's Gary,
and it's always whenever somebody had a
replay,
a foul, or there had to be a replay or something.
Someone had to, the refs had to check some stuff, and they were,
I always thought it was really important when those moments happened because I knew I'd be on camera. So I tried to get a very serious.
Why don't you tell them what you did, Gary? Actually, since we're kind of bringing it up
really
loosely,
might as well.
It's not that exciting, but it's pretty dang
you
cool
were
because you got to
legitimately
see a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I was the statistician for, let's say, the local NBA team here in Oklahoma City, and I started.
I mean, we can say who they are.
Okay, the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Might as well name drop.
When Hurricane Katrina happened and the Hornets relocated to Oklahoma City, the Hornets called OU, and I went to school at OU, worked in the athletic department, and they said, do you know anybody that can do stats for our team? And that's what I did when I worked in the athletic department. I did stats for OU football, OU basketball. And so they gave them my number and called me up and said, hey, do you want to do stats for the NBA? I'd never done it before, and I said, sure. And then I did that for 13 straight years. I retired. I stopped doing it a year ago. Timing was perfect because it was the season COVID hit. So
what was the impetus for wrapping that up? Because I mean, you had the best seats in the house for 13 years.
There's times I miss it, but to be honest with you, I mean, I have two kids that are. I mean, I have a son that's 17, a senior in high school. I have a daughter that's in cheerleader, and she turns 13 this year. I have friends like Scott that I haven't get to see as much as I want to, and it was 41 nights.
They play a lot of games.
Yeah, and it just takes too long. I mean, I loved it. I loved my time doing that. I did have the best seat in the house. I mean, there were times that I just sat there and said, I'm sitting center court of an NBA Finals game.
Yeah,
right. You got this.
It's insane.
Yeah, there's, I don't. If I had to pay for those seats, there's no way I could have afforded it.
It would have been thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it was a great time, but I like being able to sit and watch it on my TV and get up and turn it off when the game's not going the way that I want it to. So.
Do you have any stories about meeting one of those guys?
Not really. I mean, our interaction was really limited. The one time that I did get to meet them when the Thunder had a trip to Istanbul, and they took me on that trip.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
So I got to go to
that's awesome.
Istanbul and Manchester, and
didn't you go to Africa too?
Oh, I did go to South Africa also, Johannesburg, but that wasn't with the Thunder. That was just with the NBA. They asked me to work an exhibition game in Johannesburg. So,
wow.
I
mean, not much, guys. Not much.
Yeah.
He's not much.
Damn.
I got to fly on the plane to Istanbul and got to talk to KD a little bit, Russ a little bit. Those guys at the time I thought were super cool, and I still think they're pretty cool guys. But it was a great time. I really got to talk to the coach at the time. Scott Brooks, who was the coach at the time. He was very, very kind to us on that trip, and just seeing a different country was pretty remarkable. So
especially on someone else's dime.
That's right. It didn't cost me anything. So get to stay in the nicest hotel in Istanbul. That's not a bad deal. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
not
cool.
Not Constantinople.
No, I did ask that a couple of times. I've got stories for Istanbul. It's probably not for this show, but it was fun.
The Istanbul issue.
That's right.
All right, let's get into the first topic. Here it comes. Oh, I don't even know it. Here we go. Some crazy stuff has been happening over at Diamond, which might be pretty crazy for the industry. And I know that all of us, follow comics, or some of us are doing comics and stuff right now. So I thought it would be interesting to get everyone's opinion on this subject. This story that I'm reading is from Gamal Hennessy, who does creative contract consulting, who put it together better than anyone else has said it. He said, for almost 30 years, Diamond Distributors has been the primary source of single-issue comics to retailers. Many business analysts saw this as a negative aspect for the industry, with many calls for the company to evolve with the changing market. But Diamond's reign continued unabated until COVID accelerated what might have been inevitable. During the pandemic, DC, the second largest publisher in the industry, broke away from Diamond and made deals with two alternative distributors. That was last year. Last month, the floodgates broke when, this is a lot of comics publishers. Ahoy Comics, AWA, Behemoth Boom, Humanoids Insight, Legendary, Oni Press, Red 5 Scout Comics, Vault, Viz, and Heavy Metal moved their distribution to the venerable bookseller Simon & Schuster. As everyone was trying to digest this move, Marvel, the largest publisher in comics, announced their move away from Diamond and toward Penguin Random House. In the span of 18 months, Diamond went from the primary distributor of comics to a business in peril. And the damage might not be over. IDW, another major player in the market, is working off an expired deal with Diamond, so that publisher might leave in the next few weeks. He asks, why are these publishers leaving? Most of it boils down to cost and exposure, which the other distributors are much, much bigger. Most of it boils down both shipping and handling. I'm sorry, Simon, not shipping and handling. Simon & Schuster and Penguin Random House offer better financial terms and much wider distribution. So my question to the panel is this something that's been a long time coming? Diamond has been running this show for about 25 years. Is Diamond going to survive this? What does this mean to the independent comic book publishers? And what does this mean for your local comic store? And for that, first, I'm going to Scott.
Golly, I don't really have a total opinion. Somebody's going to pick up the slack if Diamond does go down, is how I feel. For years, Diamond's been eating everything up. If you remember, 25, 26, 27 years ago, when we tried to solicit our little self-published comic, it was getting harder and harder to solicit with Diamond. So we went through the other company.
Capital.
It was Capital. Capital made it easy, and Diamond didn't seem to give a crap,
Yep.
And it's kind of like sometimes bad karma comes back your way. If you treat people bad, eventually sometimes it hurts you. And, I'm sure Diamond's scrambling right now because they have this big infrastructure that costs so much money, and now they're not going to be getting money back in. So you're going to see a lot of employees who are eating, high off the hog probably get cut and everything else. Will they totally go away? I don't really know. I think it's kind of too early to know for sure. But I keep hearing all this gloom and doom, how this is going to hurt every little comic company. And in some ways I get it. But at the same time, there's so many of these little comic companies doing Kickstarters where they're asking for $10 to $15 a book, and they're making more money off Kickstarter anyway. So those people aren't going to be hurt from Diamond. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff, a lot of little publishers and stuff that I'm not educated about that are going to be hurt short term at the very least from this if they collapse. But there's no reason to say like Simon Schuster and all these other places might not pick up the reins, and it might be even better for some of these little companies. We don't really know. I mean, it's like saying like for a long time, as you around here in Oklahoma, a lot of the local little grocery stores went out of business because everywhere there was a Walmart. Well, that doesn't mean if every Walmart got shut down that like some other grocery store wouldn't pop up and maybe even be better, so we'll see what happens.
I wanted to show something before we go on. This is Diamond's previews. For people who don't know, your local comic book shop, the people who do the ordering for independent comic or whatever comic books at your local comic book store, they get a dealer version of this, which tells them, how much each of these comics cost them and that sort of thing. This is not a small thing. This is like, for
it's a
people,
giant catalog.
It's like a catalog, or like if you remember phone books back in the days, it's like a phone book. This doesn't have Marvel or DC in it. This has, here's Boom Comics. They have a couple of pages, in this thing. And then you've got, I don't know.
And it's not like a catalog. It really is a catalog.
Avatar Press. So you get to see what's coming up in about 2 or 3 months. This is what may go away. And this is not filled with Marvel and DC stuff right now. And it hasn't been for a while because Marvel and DC wanted to run their own thing. So, yes, we know Boom and IDW and everyone's going to be taken care of. Your mid-sized Dark Horse, Heavy Metal, they're going to find a distributor. But Scott mentioned something that's very important. Like, we solicited to these things before. If this doesn't exist, what are the independent guys going to do? That's, maybe what I'm most concerned about. Let's go to Sean on this subject.
Well, we've talked about Diamond before, as far as if they're going to be around or not. I mean, if management, pulls their head out, they'll do fine. They may not be as big as they were. Well, I don't think they'll ever be as big as they were.
Mm-mm.
But I don't think they'll go anywhere. Like I said, unless they just completely screw everything up, which they could do. But overall, I mean, I think Diamond will be fine. As far as independents and smaller publishers, the dam is broken on that. All of these Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all of those, along with all the others that are probably trying to be created right now, they're going to be fine. Their social media has given them a tool that we didn't have when we first tried submitting our book back a long time ago. So everybody's going to be fine. No one's going to be hurt by this. If anything, it's just going to give people a different option, which I've been screaming for at least 2 decades we needed, with Diamond being literally the only place you could go to order this stuff. We needed competition, and hopefully that occurs with Simon & Schuster and Random House, and who knows. From several things that I've been reading, they're not real good with distribution, so they're going to have to step up their game as well. So as far as timely, getting books out timely and getting them undamaged, I've been reading about a lot of books coming in that are getting hits and whatnot. So
well, bro,
I
can tell you right now, as a guy who picks up his comics weekly and usually sees his comics before anybody else on the market does, because I'm friends with the owner, so I'm there when they're unpacking them. You wouldn't believe the amount of stuff that comes in damaged, and in one breath, I'm going to argue like
From Diamond?
Yeah, it's ridiculous how much it's damaged or has a like marks on the cover and stuff like that. And then in the same aspect, I can't imagine what it's like to ship thousands upon thousands of millions of paper product that all these nerds and myself included want in mint condition
to multiple stores.
Right.
Yeah. What's that, Gary?
Yeah, shipping things that you don't want any kind of ding at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so I get both sides of it. Like, but I always tease Brian, if I'm not there to pull my books, I feel like he always gives me the damaged ones. And then I usually find out like it's the whole run of like the Suicide Squad issue or it's something else. So it wasn't like him picking on me, but
this just happened to be where the forklift came in.
Well, I'm like a weird comic guy because I read them and I don't really care. But at the same time, if I'm going to buy them, I'm not going to buy a damaged one, right? Like, let me spill water on that. Let me take it home and bend it. So,
Gary, I'm going to go to you. I know that you buy, individual floppy. As a matter of fact, we talked about this online.
Right.
Individual floppy, issues of comics from which comic store do you go to?
Wizards in Norman.
Okay.
You almost said Dragonfire because it was in your blood.
I know. Well,
Gary, we try to get Jim Lane on here all the time to tell Dragonfire stories, and he's like,
He
nobody
won't
be
come on.
interested. And yet it was still in your blood.
Jim
asked him.
is such a great guy. He should. So I'll tell you, I actually have mixed feelings about this and kind of strong feelings. I disagree with Sean. I think Diamond's dead. I think they are on life support. And I have mixed feelings about that because being friends with you guys for a long time, I was there, the difficulty of trying to get your independent book submitted. And Diamond was really pretty pretentious about...
They were a-holes.
Yeah, they're pretentious about, your book's not good enough to be distributed by us. But I will tell you that Diamond also floated and supported local comic book stores, in many cases allowing them to float their bills from month to month. But DC made up 30% of Diamond's inventory. I'm not sure. I'm thinking Marvel is probably that as well. I think they're on life support. And the thing that scares me, guys, is that I worry for the local comic shop because I think DC was waiting for something like, they used COVID, in my opinion, as a scapegoat for their move away from Diamond. They're like, oh, look, Diamond didn't
totally agree.
For demands, we're out of here. And they don't look bad.
Yep.
My concern is what I call the Blockbuster Video analogy. I don't want local comic book stores to go the way of Blockbuster Video. I don't want these other more advanced distributors to say, you know what, we're going to cut the comic store out of this. We're going to go direct to the consumer because, look, they don't want to get out of their house. They didn't want to go to the comic shop to get their books. We couldn't get the books to the comic shop. So let's find a way to ship directly to the consumer. I don't want that for my local comic shop. Comic book stores are in my blood. I was raised on comic book stores. Scott and I spent years of our lives combing through comic book stores, looking for issues that we wanted to read, and they're very important to me. So I worry about that aspect of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I guess I can go to myself. Look, I like getting previews. Previews is a good cross-section of everything that's coming out. I don't know anything. You can go to a few websites that do reviews on independent comics and tell you what's coming out. But by and large, if you want to know what's coming out in the industry, you got to pick up an issue of previews. And as far as independent stuff is going, that's what I'm interested in. I'm not necessarily interested in, the reboot of Teen Titans or whatever in the hell it is that they, Future State or, all that stupid I don't care about that stuff. I want to see the independent comics, the stuff that's maybe for adults or maybe stuff that is a little edgy or something that's just unusual, and that's going to be your independent comics. I think that it's going to be more difficult no matter what happens. I think it's going to be difficult from now on for independent comics to get into individual comic book stores. It's always been a little difficult. We talked about how difficult it was to get into the Diamond book 25 years ago. Now it's even more so. Although, ironically, now independent comics are the lifeblood of Diamond. If they don't change their situation, then they're going to die. They're completely, useless. I am also curious about independent publishers, small publishers, getting into Penguin or Simon and Schuster. I have to imagine it's impossible unless you have, you're selling hundreds of thousands of copies of something. I don't think they're going to bother with you, and I don't think that they're going to open up, the floodgates. I think that several people have mentioned that, maybe some small independent comic creators have moved on from this. They are distributing directly to the consumer through Kickstarter or through Comixology as a digital comic, or some other stuff. And when they put it together, they might have a trade paperback that they put through either Diamond or some of the other distributors. And, they're definitely more, set up to do that sort of thing. Like, for example, Saga, is that printed? Is that their own imprint? Does anyone know?
No, that's Image.
That is Image. Okay. Well, obviously Image is one of the big boys. So, I think that the small publishers, people like us, are going to get choked out of comic book stores. And in addition to that, because right now most of the heat is on either Comixology, digital comics, or trade paperbacks, I think that local comic book shops are going to have to fight a little bit to survive all of this as well, unfortunately.
I get exactly what you're saying. It makes the independent comic publisher even harder, like the little itty bitty guys like us or Russell Oldham
like us
in his book. But it's always been a fight for those things.
Of course.
I can do a video and say how good I liked Russell's book and I want issue number 2, but he could take that to 15 stores in Texas and try to sell it. And those guys might go, doesn't have DC, Marvel, or an eye on it.
Yeah, there's no, where's Wolverine?
Whereas if you just took the eye from Image and put it on like Russell's book, for example, Russell might be buying a new house. I'm just saying, like
right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's always been a struggle. It's always been a hustle for the independent guy. And if you're out there as an independent guy and you want to tell your story, you're just going to have to claw and fight. And you might have to do a couple issues of, the Champions special for Marvel that you don't want to do eventually, to then get to Spider-Man to make a name for yourself and then go self-publish your own thing.
Sean, were you talking like a week ago about going to the gas station and buying Continuity comics?
No, we used to go to Save a Stop in Choctaw, and they had Continuity comics by Neil Adams. Now, Sean might have did the same thing.
Oh, I remember someone was talking about that. I think that, people forget that, in the 70s and 80s, they didn't really have, comic book store, like stores that were dedicated to comics. And so a lot of people went to their local gas station. They picked up, Marvel, DC, Continuity, whatever.
And Continuity Comics was accompanied by Neil Adams, who was a big-time guy, right, in the 70s.
Right.
And he was a veteran wanting to do his own things. And why we had a gas station in Choctaw that, like, half their comics were Continuity comics, I don't know. So it's crazy.
I don't want to lose that, though. Batman, X-Men, they're going to do fine no matter what the case is. They're going to find, even if you have to go into a bookstore and buy them as trade paperbacks, they're going to have those things available to people. But, those independent comics, people trying to get, it's getting harder to sell it directly, to someone in a store.
Basically what I see is the VHS boom and bust of the 80s. What you started off with was a bunch of mom and pop stores that had loaded with movies that no one has ever heard of since, and no one ever watched back then except for my dumbass.
Right. And sometimes those were the
best.
And then
I did too.
And then Blockbuster came around and drowned out every mom and pop store there was.
Right.
Blockbuster refused to put all of that independent stuff that no one was watching. You had to catch it late night on HBO or Showtime or whatever. and then it disappeared until now. And now they're being brought back by independent film distributors. They're being brought back by streaming services. They're being brought back by
Streaming
all
services
of
has made a huge difference.
So I see all of this in kind of the same fashion. Yes, the big guys are going to do fine. Nothing's going to happen with them. Diamond, I think it will survive. It just isn't going to survive the way that we know it, the way that
They're going to have to cut their staff by about,
they've already done that,
half or 2/3.
But they're going to have to restructure it. They're going to have to, if they want to keep the doors open, they're going to have to do something different, and that's probably going to be cater to the smaller businesses, the smaller guys. And the comic book stores themselves, they're going to have to restructure things, because now you're not ordering it just out of one catalog. You've got to order it from 3-4 different catalogs now. I mean, you're going to get price breaks on these books, but you're not going to get that same price break on these books. So you're going to have to rearrange how you're going to buy and sell your. What was it? I was just reading something the other day. They were talking about, I think it was Marvel. You have to buy like so many of this book, and you're going to eat that, because we're not going to take them back. And this is coming from Random House or whatever.
They haven't taken stuff back in a long time.
So I mean, there's going to be a lot more of that, because Random House isn't going to lose money, because Simon & Schuster is not going to lose money. This is something new that they're going to be playing with. Everything is going to change to some degree. Everybody else is just going to have to catch up to it and change how they market themselves and whatnot. I'll guarantee you that Kickstarter, I've seen several Kickstarter campaigns where they offer special tiers for comic book stores. Okay, now you're going to have Kickstarter probably branch out to become even bigger, hitting all of these comic book stores with, now you can order your independent stuff here and get these price breaks. And then Indiegogo is going to do the same, and any other site is going to have the same type of thing. Everything is going to change, but everything's going to be fine. Everybody's going to get their stuff out. Yes, independents are still going to have to scrape and claw and bleed for their art. That's why we do what we do. It's not the destination, it's the journey. And everybody's going to have to just work their way in a different manner.
In 5 years, we could be saying, like, in some ways, maybe like this was really good.
Absolutely,
long term.
I honestly think that this will be fantastic for the small guys like us. I think this is going to level the playing field. Now, it's not going to level it forever, but right now, it's going to level the playing field for everybody. Boom Studios is advertising on Kickstarter, the same as Robert Henry is advertising on Kickstarter, the same as Russell Oldham is advertising on Kickstarter. No one has a better or lesser amount other than computer algorithms sending ads to various people for various stuff, depending on what you like and what you don't. So again, this is it's another step. It's going to evolve. It's going to change, and we're going to have to change with it, or we'll have to start up our own thing, our own distribution.
So there's money to be made here by somebody who has the collateral to start it up and keep it going. And Diamond could fix that. We'll just see in time.
It would shock me if a bunch of comic professionals didn't get together and start their own distribution, image distribution, and then all of a sudden you got all these other independents going through image distribution, and now they've got their own little
it sure was convenient when it was all in this.
That's the Yellow Pages, man. I mean, seriously, that's going to go away.
And where's the Yellow Pages?
That's right. And
right.
So I mean,
it moves to the phone.
The preview still comes out like that. I mean, every comic book store has access to the internet. You could get on a catalog and do a search immediately.
You could, and someone should jump on that right now and start advertising for these things, because otherwise, I mean, that's how I find new stuff, is through previews. If that's going away, then that's an outlet that needs to be replaced.
Diamond has already started that and has for a while. I think for at least a year now. I've been part of the thing where I can go on to Diamond, I can go log in, and it tracks to my local comic store. So I can go see that same catalog that you do, Dirk, that you have in your hand, and I can just go through and go, oh, I want this cover, I want this cover. It sends a message to my comic store. My comic store orders it for me. It comes in. Because there's...
All right.
I'm starting to pay the price because I at first was not going through
Finding too much?
That's why I don't like going through previews, because it's like, of course I need a Cobra Commander cosplay outfit that fits fat adults. Of course I need a Dragon Ball Z lamp shade for a lamp I don't own yet.
Right.
So... they've kind of already started that. It might be a little too late now, but that previews for sure is going away. That's too much paper to print. So
let me get to some comments here. Russell, we talked about him earlier. He says, good evening, guys. Glad to see Scott was able to join tonight.
Of course, Russell. I'm the star.
Walt says that he's watching us on his TV.
Wow.
Through Facebook. Steve says, Dirk with the Giants reference. Well done, sir. Jerry says, welcome back, Scott. Since we were talking about run-ins with celebrities and stuff, Ronnie says Stoops almost ran me down in a golf cart with no governor.
That golf cart would have paid the price, Ronnie. You're built like
kidding.
Paul Bunyan. Ronnie's built like Paul Bunyan.
No diggity. Betty says hello.
Howdy.
Walt says the Diamond will have to cater to the little guys. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that now that when I left you, I was but to learn, but now I am the master. Now Diamond has to come bow before the independents, which I think is quite interesting. Jerry says Dragonfire. She loves that. Jim, you're welcome on anytime, man. He's probably not watching right now, but. Let's see. Walt says, agreed. Comic shop is like going to the water cooler conversation. It's cheers. Mm-hmm. Jerry says, save a stop.
Wow.
Walt says, you told him that. I went to you told him to pick up some comics. I did. Quick Trip. We're getting all the places that people went. 7-Eleven. I would dig through my mom's change purse or whatever, because back in that time when you get 35 cents, you get a comic, and I would get $1 of stuff. I'd come back with 3 comics. It was the best thing.
You're 35 cents old.
Yes, that was. It was still only 35 cents.
We're like 60 cents, right, Scott?
When I actually started buying comics, I was paying $75. But if I would have probably started, I think about a year before, it would have been 60 cents. Yeah. So I consider myself 75 cents years old.
Oh yeah, Ronnie says the Bud Plant comic. Do you guys catalog? You guys remember the Bud Plant?
I remember that. He was a distributor for independent, like art books and stuff.
Yeah. Some real cool kind of independent stuff through Bud Plant.
That's where I got all my Elf Quest.
I think Bud Plant's still around. Am I wrong on that? Isn't Bud Plant out of Colorado?
I don't know for sure.
I can find out.
Anthony says that he used to order his through Mile High. That's probably who I'm thinking of through Denver.
Yeah, that's your Denver connection right there.
Maxine says that she's listening to us and the Thunder. I guarantee you that we're going to be...
we'll be more competitive than the Thunder.
There it is. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, I thought she meant maybe a thunderstorm.
We're not bringing
Utah by 25. Okay,
I mean, oh God, is it Utah tonight?
Yeah.
I just found out they're number 1 in the West. That is a problem for the Thunder.
Well, they just got
playing.
Not a problem.
They just got beat too, so they're gonna be mad.
Since we're playing, like G League members and janitors now. To make sure that we tank these games.
They called me, but I've been working nights, so I couldn't go help them out for it.
Exactly.
Sean, on my last trip to Dallas, I bought the complete Elf Quest. That's about like this thick.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I thought about you when I bought it.
That is very cool.
The first 4 volumes.
No,
Elf Quest.
The first 4 volumes that were originally published in when I got them, they were Starblaze graphics.
Just heard some thunder right there.
The first 4 volumes were fantastic.
Shimmy Shanks.
Our internet.
Oh God, I hope not.
I hope not. Marianne says she's stopping by, saying hi real quick. Hello, Marianne.
Marianne, your work looks great, by the way.
There you go. She's been busy. She's been producing some stuff lately, some comic book pages and things.
Bud Plant is still going strong online, although apparently their solicitation book went defunct in '88, if I'm reading this correctly.
No, they had a company.
But you can go to their website.
You can go to the website and you can order the same stuff through the website, but they don't do the distribution anymore. Is what it is saying.
Jeree thinks that Maxine was talking about the weather too. She said the thunder's a little creepy. Welcome to Oklahoma Spring.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Looking
actual
at
thunder. Actual thunder. Ronnie says Wilson let me borrow his elf quest, and I thank you for that, sir. All right. Does anyone have anything else they want to add on the subject?
Bud Plant sold its distribution to Diamond in '88.
I hope you guys are right about Diamond now catering more to independent comics. Finding a random independent comic by an artist you've never heard of and being amazed by it is one of the truly cool things about collecting comic books.
It's the thing that I'm most interested in right now is finding, that kind of weird offbeat comic. Yeah. And they're still out there, and people are producing more and better stuff than ever before. So yeah, I don't want that to go away. And I'll tell you something else. Being able to walk into a store and pick it up and look through it is a huge deal. I'd hate to lose that.
Yeah, agreed. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, but we're old.
Let's move on to the next subject. All right, here's the deal on this. just to frame this properly. Last holiday season, we got the latest and greatest version of PlayStation and Xbox, and because we may be moving to streaming services in the near future, I hope we don't. But they all say that this is probably the last generation of console games. So my question to the group, since we've all been around for a while, we've all played, different video game consoles. Please don't focus on graphics, because obviously this latest generation is the best graphics and fastest and the wildest, the biggest sandbox and everything. But instead, let's focus on how much fun you had, the range of games on the system, how well the console performed, and looking through nostalgic eyes, give your opinion on your favorite console of the past. Also, you might mention some games that you liked in particular, or anything else talking about video game consoles might bring up. And first, I think I'm going to go to Gary first on this.
I'm honored. So let me tell you, I did buy a PS5 in December. Our friend Rob talks about the human want versus need versus desire. I thought I wanted it, but really I probably desired it at that point because it was so new. The irony is I buy the PS5 and now all I do is play Rocket League on it, which I could have done on my PS4. I
have a Switch just for Rocket League only. So
Lord,
right. So, and I blame Scott for my Rocket League addiction, by the way.
You guys are so uncool.
My all-time. To me, it doesn't get better, and the Magic doesn't get any better than the NES, the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
I vividly remember getting Super Nintendo for Christmas, probably my greatest Christmas ever. That had the robot that would grab the little gyros and put down on the weights and duck hunt.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah, that's where the magic was for me, and I still remember getting the consoles and. You blowing
it.
Yeah. Like, have no idea if that did anything or not, but I was convinced.
Clear that cassette.
That's right. Clear it out. And I just playing Legend of Zelda, probably, in my opinion, still the greatest game of all time. I think that the hours and hours I played that game as a child, and you never really forget that kind of initial magic. My video game history goes way, way, way back in television, Atari, all of these things. But for me, without question, it was the Super Nintendo because the time of my life I got that. I mean, legitimately.
Not to interrupt you, you really mean the NES?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
talking about
yeah.
the original.
The,
They came out with the Super Nintendo, so
right,
just
right. The original NES.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that they had so many games. It was so new. It was such a leap in technology at that point. Nobody had ever seen anything like the NES when it came out, and it was so far advanced of the other systems on the market and it was so readily available. That's the thing, that the PS5, you still can't get it. I mean, legitimately,
Right.
it's hard to get in the United States, and so, but for some reason, back in I don't know, what year did the NES come out? 84?
I want to say 84.
I literally watched a documentary on that about a week ago, and 84 is right on target.
Yeah, so I was 10 years old. Not to give my age away, I'm 47. I was 10 years old when the NES came out, and that's at that age where there's so much magic. You still are not desensitized to the world at 10 years old. At least I was not, and so it represented everything that was awesome about my youth and playing games.
According to the internet, if this is accurate, it was September 1986.
Oh, really? Man,
no, I mean it was released in Japan in '83, according to what I'm seeing, but that doesn't. It's the internet. I don't know if you can believe it 100%.
You can believe everything on the internet.
I'm also seeing something where it says in 1985, so who knows? Sean's probably on a more accurate website than what I'm looking at.
Sean, look at
it says the nationwide release came September '86, released 17 launch games, and then it lists them, many games that we actually teased and talked about before we even started the show. So,
if you're watching this, tell us what your favorite system is or your favorite game or something. We'll put your stuff up after everyone talks here. Sean, are you ready to go, man? Yes. Hello.
Are you stroking? Sean, are you having a stroke?
Dude, your mic is off, dude.
Well, the cat was hollering.
We want to hear that.
No,
you're ruining Pump's day.
I have played literally all consoles I think that have come out,
and still own most of them.
And I still own most of them. Which one was my favorite? Which one was for me, the one that kind of redefined the home console. For me, it had to be Xbox. And right. I say that I didn't have the Xbox when it came out. My buddy did. And at that time, I had the original PlayStation 1. Mm-hmm. And he always had to be better than me, or he always had to one up me. I don't know what that is. I don't understand that. Anyway, he had the Xbox. He got the Xbox, I believe it was for his birthday, and there was just something about the home screen, the layout, everything about it just clicked. The controllers, as soon as you held the controller, you knew exactly what everything did without ever doing anything with it. It felt right to me. But with that said, I had the original Atari when it came out. I had a ColecoVision for quite a while. The original Nintendo was the first console that I personally bought with my money. And I too had the little robot with the little gyroscopic. I think I still have the robot actually somewhere. Anyway, I would have to say the Xbox is probably.
What game on the Xbox? I know the answer to this, but
it was Halo.
Yeah,
Halo just as soon as and I'll tell you, when my buddy got his console, we went. He had also gotten a handful of games, and they were games that he wasn't going to play. So he and I believe his wife was with us as well. Went to the store, looked at some other games, picked up a couple. I had seen a commercial mentioning Halo, and so I suggested that. He's like, "Yeah, I that looks cool," and we got it. We got back to his house, ordered some pizzas, got some beverages, sat down. It was about 6, maybe 5 in the evening, and we locked in. And we did not stop until I had to go to work the next morning at like 7 in the morning.
Dude, you get obsessed on games like no one I know.
If the story captivates me, I want to know. I want to know.
I call BS. You stayed up all night playing Doom one night. Sean, did you get up early to play this? I'm still up. Dude, that was like 12 hours ago. I'm still up. Doom.
That had an interesting story, kind of.
But so was Xbox and PlayStation the first wireless controller? Because that
was a big deal.
I remember that Nintendo, you're ripping the controllers out because you're mad.
I was convinced that wouldn't work.
Wireless controllers would
it would like be, I figured it would be a second or two behind, where you need it to be. You need it to be.
This crazy technology. You got to keep the wire.
So I got to tell you, this totally off subject, but I remember, Hoop, do you remember you used to have, you had the earliest remote for a TV that I'd ever seen in my life.
Literally,
it had metal.
Do you remember? Do you remember that people used to call remote controls clickers? Mm-hmm. That comes from what I had, which was a metal box with 4 buttons on it, and it literally had like 4 different size metal rods in there. That when you would press a button, it would ding on that metal rod and create a tone.
Yeah.
That would change the channel, turn the television off and on, or would move the volume up or down.
Let me tell you, I was caveman staring at a wheel at your house in Rose, looking at that remote. I had no idea. I looked at it like I just discovered fire. I was like, "What is this box?"
It
was like you're holding up the dinner bell, like ting, and the TV would change.
It was a clicker. And you know what? Say what you will. That I think it was it was a Zenith. That Zenith television lasted for a long. It was a color television. We had that television for 15, 20 years.
Well, the batteries don't ever go out on a metal time.
Nope. Sure. I actually wish that I'd kept that dumb thing.
You should have.
The little clicker thing. Because
when the post-apocalyptic wars hit, there's going to be one TV left, and they're going to go chunk, 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 and they're not even going to be watching anything. It's just going to flash to another like static channel, and they're basically be like, "Oh, God's talking to us." See?
I've told that story to people before. They didn't believe me. They're like, "Whatever." There was no metal.
True story.
Control.
True story. All right, Scott, we're going to you, buddy.
I mean, Gary kind of said everything that was special about the NES, but that was not my first choice. That was a very close second for sure. I will say that I do think Legend of Zelda was such a crazy type game that it was just every little boy in the world, probably every little girl too. I mean, still to this day, they love the style of the Legend of Zelda games of just hunting around. You didn't have to go side scrolling all the time.
Yeah,
if you wanted to go up here in the mountains, you could do this. If you blew up random walls, stuff would open up. And Nintendo's campaign of having this like comedian do all these little crazy things, it made you want to know what this game was, even though you never knew what this game was. So it was incredible. I mean, I feel bad because I tricked a guy in my neighborhood to come hang out and, hey, let's hang out. Come stay the night. Bring your Nintendo. Bring Zelda. And he fell asleep about 8:30, and I pulled a Sean Wilson, and I stayed up all night. And in typical Scott fashion, accidentally erased somebody else's, like, one of their character saves by accident. So,
Wonderful.
My probably favorite system, looking back on just like memories and stuff. We played soccer. Me and Gary played a lot of indoor soccer during our 90s. We played men's soccer. We played co-ed soccer. Our weekends were soccer. And there was a guy named Danny Blair who was our referee at the time. And I remember when that generation of systems came out, like the Nintendo 64. And I thought, this thing I think at the time was $200. Maybe it was $250. I can't remember exactly. But I thought, I'm finally priced out of buying video game systems.
You can't afford it.
Can't afford it. I'm going to college. That's a lot of money. Danny just decided he was going to join the military, and I caught him. Like, we were at Mazzio's in Choctaw, because that's where everybody hangs out. And I said, bro, if you're going to the military, you can't use that Nintendo 64. How about I take care of that for you while you're gone? I'll give it to you when you get back. Danny Blair gave it to me right then. I got basically a free Nintendo 64. I took it to college where I lived with Gary, and we played the crap out of Nintendo 64, that Super Mario World or whatever it was that was on there. Maybe it was Mario 64.
That's it?
Mario 64.
That was a good game.
That led to such wonderful games called like the WCW versus NWO, which was on that, like, I can't remember the company that did it, but they had this like special game engine thing. Like, it was really easy to like do your grappling moves and your wrestling moves and stuff like this. And this led to like that same company went on to produce like WWE games, and then more WWE games. And then the most famous one was WWE No Mercy. That's the kind of the big famous pro wrestling game at the time that everybody could play. It was amazing. Dirk, you remember, after I lived with Gary for a while, I lived with you for a while. We had battle royals. We made up all these crazy characters in this video game so we could play battle royals, and like if you get eliminated out of the battle royal, randomly somebody else would come out, and like I remember in college just like constantly laughing like, oh no, here comes to the ring, it's Scott's grandma Nina, and she'd run down to the ring and she'd beat up somebody, and we'd just chuckle and laugh, and like all my friends were in there, and like, oh, here comes Gary, and he'd come out and do like this little dance and stuff, because you would copy
that dance.
Anyways, it was such a great time, and for like it feels like 5 years of my life, we just played the crap out of that, going back to like my early days of OU playing Nintendo 64 and so on and so on. So probably if you go by the real answer probably should be like 12-year-old Scott getting a Nintendo Entertainment System, but I'm going with college Scott here and the Nintendo 64.
So real quick, Hoop, two things. One, Daniel Blair is now an inspector for the fire department. I see him all the time. I'm going to tell him he'll probably want his system back. Number two, yeah.
That's what your Moisés Alou card.
Yeah, I want the Moisés Alou rookie card. And number two, I had totally blanked on that memory that you told. I can't believe you got his Nintendo 64 given to you at a Mazzio's.
I tried to give it back when he came back, because he came back from the military, and I was like, bro, I think we accidentally ran into him like just randomly one night, and I said, dude, if I knew I was going to see you, I'd have brought your system back. And he goes, don't worry about it, just keep it. I mean, he gave it to me officially. No.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like my Total Recall tape.
Exactly. Gary doesn't probably remember this, but we were both going to college at OU at the same time. And I think sometimes we might have ditched class or conveniently rushed home. And like I would rush home and Gary's there on the system playing Mario 64. I'm like, dang it. And then I would run home and then Gary pop in. I'm like, oh, I thought you're supposed to be in history. And he's like, yeah, I am. I just stopped by to get something.
Oh, man. I put out that we were going to do this subject on the internets before, a day or two ago, and our buddy Pump wanted you desperately to talk about the different characters in that Nintendo 64 wrestling game.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, we had everything in there. One of our buddies, Steve Eckert, took it to another level.
Oh boy, did he.
He took it to another level. Like So every character had like 4 different costumes. And so
like every avatar, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, you could have 4 different outfits, but
Right.
you could rewrite those outfits. You could create any name or any
right.
outfit or whatever with that character. 4 of them.
And in some ways, we took like a character that we didn't like, and we just made up 4 individual people. Like my grandma being one of them. She didn't have 4 different costumes. She had 1 costume, and then that same character's another costume was somebody else.
Right.
I believe. Man, I'm trying to think of all the crazy characters. I know Steve got into my system. And he created like 1970s. Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he came out with a big afro. We had I can't really think of a ton of other characters, but I mean, we had
Abraham Lincoln.
We had Abraham Lincoln. He was in there.
All
George
of us.
Washington.
I mean, all of us were in there. And
Jesus was in there
in many, many different versions of ourselves.
Many different. I put my dad in there. He
Yes.
was in there. I put, Scott from high school was in there.
Right.
Scott, if he was a pro wrestler, was in there. Back before it was maybe popular, I had some transgender characters in there. So I was diversified well early on. It was awesome.
Early adapter.
Huh? Yeah, I was early
Early
adapter.
Yeah.
Very accepting of people. I think I had somebody from my grade school in there. I mean, it was just really almost anybody we went to college with, their character came down, and we were
Everyone.
like, oh no, I'm this guy. I think for a while your dad was in there. I think Doyle Hooper was in there, and he had like a karate gimmick and stuff. So I think he was in the dad.
I think you're right.
Because my dad was based off the character Glacier, and I think I uploaded more dads in there. We had Rob's dad in there, and what's funny about that is Rob doesn't know who his dad is.
It's an accurate depiction of him, though.
It really, in college, it was the thing to do is to go to our house and come over and play the Battle Royale style because it only put 4 characters at a time in the game and everybody could play. And as soon as one got eliminated, another character ran down the thing. And Robert knew this because Robert was in the game too. We had Rob's dad, and of course he had a masked wrestler face on there, and he come down. We had so much fun.
Never found out who was dead. He stayed masked the whole time.
What's that?
In that regard, he never found out who he was because he stayed masked the whole time.
No.
He was a mystery.
No, there was time. I mean, that was the fun about it, right? Like, if I had my character and I was actually doing well, like Steve Eckert would get Skip Delsine, and my dad would run down and he'd talk about, like, you need to take out the trash, boy.
God, there is a special level of hell you are going to.
Sean,
It's so wrong.
we could have a version of this where we talk about Steve Eckert's version of characters that are even worse than what I'm talking about.
They were
I mean, Dirk's not mentioning some of them.
long before the term politically correct came around. These characters were very unpolitically correct.
On Steve's No Mercy, because he bought a Nintendo 64 just for that game. There was a lot of old rulers throughout history that are vile people in Steve's version of that game.
So, for the record, we got to clear this up. For the record, if anyone else made fun of Rob's lack of a dad, Scott and I would defend him. But we have gotten that pass. I can promise you.
Robert was there.
Yeah, I mean,
yes,
Robert
lived with me at the time. Yes,
go on trip, Scott would be like, maybe that's your dad. Maybe that's your dad.
Look, I can honestly say the first time
Dirk's glasses are fogged up. That's good laughter.
I can honestly say the first time that I met Robert and
Made me
Scott
cry.
together. I met Robert and Scott together. There were racial indignities being slung both ways. And this was the first time I met them. You know?
yes.
So it's like,
Yeah, you got to realize with this
I
group,
just walk into?
you better grow a thick skin, man.
Is he the most racist person I've ever seen? And who's this Native American guy that he keeps guiding? And he seems to be putting
So
up with it.
inappropriate.
I don't understand what's going on. Only to find out
There's
guys
no
have been
better
friends
term to
Have known
describe
each other forever.
Scott, Robert, and Gary are brothers, and
yeah.
Gary might not like me if he met me today, and I might not like Gary if I met him today. But he's had 34 years to marinate, and he loves this. And,
Yeah.
I mean, we laugh sometimes because we tease. Often we try to have a little trip where it's us, me, Robert, and Gary. And about 30 minutes into the road, poor Rob, we start teasing him. And what's beautiful about Robert is he's not going to tease you back. He's kind of just gonna smile at you like I'm smarter than you.
Yes.
And just kind of, with his little Tom Cruise smile and just kind of like, I'm better than you. And he takes it, and me and Gary just laugh. And honestly,
First world problem, Scott. First world problem.
and then about 30 more miles down the road, somebody heel turns the other guy, and it's Robert and Gary teasing me about something that we grew up on. Remember that time Scott had to, go roof a house while we stayed the night? We didn't want to do it, but his dad made him do it, so we were listening to him do it. And then it's amazing, and that's what you get from long-term friends. But yeah, you got to be a little thick-skinned and know that we would also take a bullet for the other guy. So
That's right. That's right.
Wow.
and I mean, we've been there all the time for each other.
And in a good way. I laughed.
But there was
I can't even see through my glasses.
I mean, that game had, I bet, 40 different slots on it, and if you times that times 4, we had. I had different costumes because I own the game, but I bet you we had 100 different characters that could come out to the ring. We had Cowboy Kelly on there. Remember that independent wrestler that we saw do 2 run-ins, and he was terrible. He was terrible. And then we saw him do 2 run-ins. He was just an offside character at the local swap meet wrestling league.
Was that the Armory?
At the Armory, and then we saw him working at Walmart and stocking shelves at the grocery store, and we'd act like he was a big famous dude. Every time we go to the grocery store to pick up a box of cereal in college, we'd be like, "Oh my God, there's Cowboy Kelly! Go ask for his autograph." He was in the game. He was in the game. So
He was immortalized.
He was, and I don't even think that was his real name. I think Mike Brand called him Cowboy Kelly once. And
Mike Brand had Body Slam in there, and maybe a more than one version of Mike Brand as this or that.
Yep.
Steve Eckert was prolific on these characters.
That's when we did our little goofy film class exercises, when we did our extremely fat wrestling. All those characters were in there.
Yes.
All that stuff. So, yeah.
Bueno Chilada and Crunchy Potato Burrito.
Yeah, Dave Rave, all those.
Dave Rave.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways, the best system to me was probably the Super, not the Super NES, the Nintendo 64.
Pump got what he wanted out of that.
He definitely got what he wanted. Out to the ring, Rob's dead.
The joke was the joke was that someone you eventually sold that cassette to someone, right?
And I didn't wipe out the things clean.
The thing is, that was a cassette, and back in the the olden days.
Oh, you made a point.
Your machine did not save the thing; it was saved on the cassette. The cassette had its own memory.
It was the cartridge.
Right, the cartridge had its own memory, and so it held on to those characters. And eventually you sold that thing, and you said,
Can you
imagine being a 10-year-old kid is I finally have a wrestling game, and I'm going to get to see, the Ultimate Warrior and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And
The
instead
Rock.
comes out, and The Rock. And instead, it's like Dave Rave coming down the.
And a character named Rob's dad, and then like my father.
Poor Timmy that got
Skip.
that game for his birthday.
Here comes Skip.
Exactly.
You never know. He might be pissed watching WCW. Or
Like, where are these cool
Where are
wrestlers?
these guys?
Exactly.
Where are these cool wrestlers?
Where's the guys I grew up on?
So Dirk, you actually brought up a point that I forgot I was going to make about this system. At the time, I had a PlayStation 1, which was a great system at the time. I remember watching the soccer game load up, and it had its intro, and I remember me and my dad going, man, graphics can't get better than this.
Yes. Every time it felt like.
Right. And I remember I got so infuriated every time I bought a new PlayStation game, all the load times in between.
Oh, yes.
As it's loading.
That's
and
so
when
true.
And when I borrowed that Nintendo 64, I was like, I'm never going back to these disc games because everything's on the cartridge. You don't have to sit there and go loading.
Yeah,
loading.
it all booted up
You just
immediately.
you just played the game, and I loved it. And I remember at that time I said, I'm never going to get anything with a compact disc in it ever again. So, and then those all went away. The cartridges went away.
I don't think those were, what were those, DVDs or something that they had on those old PlayStations?
I don't know officially.
The original disc.
Or were they
that came out
CDs?
the original discs that came out, I believe, were DVDs.
I remember I got some game and I was taking it out
much.
And I was taking it out one night and I dropped it and it scraped it and my game was always locking up because of the scratch. That was another reason. I was like, I'm going back to cartridges. I hate this. I'm an old man.
Something else that was really great about that N64 wrestling game is that it was so easy. I mean, it had, just a few moves and a few combination things. Anyone could play it. I mean, you could literally, in 30 minutes, everyone could play kind of on the same level.
Yeah.
And so it was, it was fun to have these stupid characters that were all based on us and then have people come over and play these, play the Royal Rumbles and stuff. And the Royal Rumble randomly assigns 30 people that come down the ramp. So half of the fun was to see what stupid characters were coming down. Oh,
good stuff. Good stuff.
Good chance.
Okay, so my stuff is, look, I came up back before consoles were really around. The first console that I had was some dumb thing. It was like a triangle, and it had Pong on it, and like a kind of a thing where it had a gun that you could shoot at the screen, and then like a game with like a wheel that you would do like a racing game or something. That was the first console that I had. So that's how far back my stuff goes.
I think your parents lied to you. I don't think that system existed. They gave you a steering wheel. You think that's
a false memory?
Yes.
Just stare at the screen and use this steering wheel.
Yeah, you were watching some race back then, and they just gave you a plate to act like a wheel.
That was the thing that I had first, and then I had friends that had the Atari 2600, and that system was magical to me, even though it was so terrible. But I mean, they had so many games; it really ruled the roost for so long. I enjoyed playing stupid, addictive games like Missile Command and Asteroids and Defender and Adventure. That stuff was really magical to me. And also I really enjoyed going to the arcades. I miss arcade. I still miss, going to arcades and playing those, spending, $5 and quarters at a time. And, playing stuff like, Dragon's Lair, back when that was a big damn deal. And they would put monitors above the console so that people could watch you defeat the thing that, people would gather around and watch you play that stupid game. That was really crazy. That was definitely a different time. I remember Scott renting the original Sony PlayStation. like we would go to the video rental store, and they would rent the systems, and then we would rent like fighting games, and would all get together overnight and stuff, and just play the crap out of those, where we were destroying each other. What do you? Oh my gosh! Here we go. This is wonderful. There is the thing right there that I had. That is it.
Wow.
Coleco Telstar Arcade.
That's crazy.
That is exactly precisely what I had. Sean has found it.
Dude.
You can see it had a wheel on it, and then like a little gear shift, and then a gun, and then you could play Pong against someone.
Dude, in the 60s, I bet you were like the coolest house.
That was it. Well, I wasn't really around in the 60s, but that was the thing. And I think that I got that because I think that one of my cousins got that, and I went crazy over it. And so my parents are like, well, we got to get him one of these dumb things too. And so that's what I had. I never had an Atari 2600, but that was probably my favorite game system. I have talked many times about my love for Saints Row 4. That was 2 generations ago, and I even played that a few months ago just because I enjoyed that thing so much. And then recently, I think my all-time favorite game is The Division 2. I mean, I can just play that thing constantly. I can't stop playing that dumb game. It is endlessly interesting to me, and that's a pretty recent game. So anyway, I like it because the graphics are amazing on it, and there's a lot of playability on this thing. I never get tired of it. But my all-time favorite system is the Atari 2600.
So I just found something. I sent it to Scott. Someone right now on eBay selling the complete NES video game console system and every game for $59,995. So if you guys are in, let's get it tonight.
Wow.
Let me grab my credit card.
You didn't call one of your boys, Russell or Kevin, up and ask them for some change.
That's insane. You should see the pictures. That's incredible.
Russell might. I don't know if Kevin would.
Let's see. Anthony says that he liked the Intellivision. Still have a functioning one with voice modulator and all the games. I remember that I would go over to a friend's house and play the Intellivision, and it was superior to the Atari 2600 and had some stuff. But, the problem with that is all of those paddles started failing.
Yep.
It was just not meant to
We
survive.
We had a friend who had an Amiga system, the Commodore Amiga.
Yep.
And when he'd come into town, he'd bring it. Like, looking back, I'm like, why did you transport this computer back and forth just to play video games? But Gary weren't you the one that could actually play through Space Ace, which was the sequel, kind of like in the same style as Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
Gary could play through it all because he memorized it, and we videotaped him doing that so we could rewatch the cartoon anytime we wanted. I remember doing that in junior high over at Gary's house. So
yeah, love that.
I have that on DVD.
Of course you do, Sean.
Is it open?
Oh yeah, I've watched it many a time.
We watched Dragon's Lair one time. It showed all of the different variations of it and stuff. It's pretty cool.
And you can even play it if you choose to.
You
can just watch it as a movie, or
and
you
then
can
just use your remote or whatever to.
That's cool.
But the box set came with Dragon's Lair 2, and Space Ace.
Cool. Walt says Atari 2600. He agrees with me. To this day, I
I've
still
heard
love
this story before.
how much my Vietnam vet uncle played Combat and couldn't put down the controller. Steve says Atari 2600.
Wow.
The spiritual source of all video gaming. I spent so much time on Vanguard and Mars Revenge.
Both good
that
games.
My mom had to keep checking if I was dead. Jerry says, of course, Xbox. Ronnie says, Duck Hunt changed my life, but not really. And Jerry says, yep, Halo. Walt says, favorite games, Gran Turismo, Ace Combat, both since the PS1. Jerry loved Legend of Zelda. I mean, that was an insane thing.
Just a couple years ago on the Switch,
Ronnie's poo-pooing that.
I redid the original Legend of Zelda, and I tried to do it all by memory, not use the internet to cheat. And
Really?
I made it until the very, very last dungeon, and I got mad one day, and I finally looked up something. So,
Walt's calling us out on Rob. That just scratches the surface, buddy.
pour nothing on Rob. Rob's sitting on $1 million worth of comics if you ever would like to part with them. So don't be with that.
I noticed no love for E.T. The
Right, the original.
That was a terrible game.
That probably killed that whole system.
Well, now you got to remember those Atari games, they were all designed and programmed by a single individual
Right.
back in the day. And whoever got that job is sitting there going, the hell am I going to do with this alien? I don't know what
There's a documentary about the making of that game that everybody should watch. It's wild.
And how they
it's
buried
wicked.
that stuff in a big landfill, and you can.
and
That's right.
dug it up.
I think they had a big dig on that actually, and
Did they really?
and
Yes.
reconstituted
They-
some of those.
They dug that treasure trove up from
They
the middle
buried
of-
the video games?
Oh,
They
yeah.
had to. They couldn't sell them, and because they thought E.T. would be a huge. I mean, it was a huge movie, and they thought that the video game also would be huge. It was terrible. I mean, it was like apparently
know.
E.T. got
Dropped in a
fell
pit.
into a pit which he couldn't get out. So anyway, it didn't go so well, and so they just had tons and tons and tons of them. They had to just bury them.
Yeah, they literally. They took
And I
them out
still
to the middle
didn't
of the
have
desert
one.
and buried them.
I still didn't have one. I had to borrow it from somebody.
They could have given those away to poor
Poor Scott.
children. Walt says the original PS1 discs were CDs. We used to rip the music off of them on our Office
Okay.
Max.
Well,
Ronnie says that his favorite was the Coleco Telstar gaming system.
Which is-
Anyone? Coleco? Isn't that in a television?
no, that's the one that you had, the triangle.
Oh, it's the same. That's the same thing. Good Lord,
It was the Coleco Telstar game.
that was a terrible system. Steve says y'all need to come down and hit the National Video Game Museum here. That would
That'd
be
be
cool.
cool.
that would
like
be
that.
fun.
So my dad recently turned 79 years old. He still talks about playing baseball on the Odyssey against me.
Really?
Yeah.
Ronnie
awesome.
says $54,000 for the game system. Just get it from Rob's dad.
I mean, I said it could be the guy who plays Machete. I said that before.
not on a live broadcast. You did.
Okay, well,
I just had my glasses cleaned, man.
dude,
I wish it was.
I gotta conduct a show here, man.
Somebody get Danny Trejo on the phone.
Were you in Choctaw about 40-something years ago?
Had a pit stop.
No.
stopped at the frog pond one night.
Still Billy Hideaway. Oh,
Let's just continue on with quotes.
Jesus.
Jennifer says she's. Oh, I forgot. You still have your. Jennifer, my lovely and beautiful girlfriend, still has her 64. I did not know her brother has a Sega. I wish I still had my No Mercy game so I could play that so bad. Jennifer likes all the Zelda games, so I know she plays a lot of those. And
Sega was a good system, wasn't it? Is it? Oh, like the Dreamcast. I enjoyed the Dreamcast quite a bit.
Dreamcast was a good system.
Dreamcast was like
Sega.
That was
all-
the Genesis.
Yeah,
Oh, was
Sega
it-
Genesis.
okay.
See, I love the Genesis.
The Dreamcast had really fun games. I mean, they weren't really complex or anything, but had pretty good graphics on it and stuff. They had a lot of really, I thought, pretty cool games. Walt says that you ain't right, Scott.
Hey, let me tell you something. I might
Ronnie
give
says
you a hard time, but I'm
The guy from Machete, you're gonna burn.
That guy's cool. I think
The guy's cool
He's
as
very cool. I mean,
There could be
doesn't
worse
love Danny
dads.
Danny Trejo is pretty awesome, man.
Rob's cool. Danny Trejo's cool.
Danny
You guys.
I don't think he's Native American, dude.
Well, maybe Rob's not Native American.
He is not.
See, now I'm going to have to.
Danny Trejo is
Now I'm
not.
gonna have to look at that tattoo on Danny Trejo's chest. Who is that? Who is that young lady?
We are going to watch this episode now. We are going to have to take it down.
We're going to get a cease and desist from Danny Trejo.
Steve still has his PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, and the Atari 2600.
I held on to a lot of systems for a long time, and then I was just like, I can't do it. I can't keep comics forever. I can't keep it. So,
Sean, what do you have?
Let's see. Currently in my bedroom, I have PS1, PS2. In the living room, I have PS3, Xbox, Xbox 360, Xbox One. I believe I have another Xbox 360 in my bedroom.
Multiple copies. It's important.
Well, there's a story there. One guy, my house got broken into and they stole my Xbox. And I was holding on, but Jesus, getting my stuff back from the police department took forever. So I ended up getting another Xbox, and then I got my original one back. It was just a headache.
Walt says Dreamcast was superior to the PS2.
it was a really good system.
He said lack of marketing killed it. I mean, we had a friend who because they were like liquidating those games, he literally bought every game that was, because he could get it for like $5. He bought every game on that system, and then when people started getting rid of the system, he bought multiple systems to make sure that he could have that for.
I talked him into buying like 2 more extra systems because he found some in California. I was like, James, these are gonna go down, and you'll never get one again. And you have all these games. Yeah. I bought a Dreamcast when they were getting all liquidated because we played James's so much. So I was like, this has got a good handful of good games.
Yeah, it's fun. I agree. All right. Whew. You got? Did you get what you wanted, Pump?
And then some.
Holy cats! All right, we're going to move on to the next routine here. Here it comes. Oh, I can't find it. Where the heck is it? I'm about to hum it. Here it comes.
I would love to have heard you hum that.
Would have been difficult.
Bum bum. Boom.
Hey, you can take as long as you want on this, but it doesn't have to be the biggest deal. Let's catch up with what's been happening with Scott.
Cathing up with Scott.
Cathing.
Oh, geez. What do you mean? Been working a lot
tell
lately.
Tell us a little bit about work, your game weekend in comics, and like I said, it doesn't have to be a tour de force. We're already an hour and a half into this episode.
Just been working extremely a lot. Where I help train air traffic controllers. That doesn't mean I am an air traffic controller. That means I help run the equipment and help the instructors.
Don't you?
And they've just, huh?
I said, don't you feel safer?
No, I've seen a lot of people go through that academy. So, boom!
Now we're definitely going to have to take it down.
No. The truth is they go through this school, and if they pass, they go out to their facility where, from what I understand, they almost take on like an apprenticeship, and they're not. Their education's just beginning, so they got a lot of stuff to learn out there, and of course, you understand why. It's there's so many rules and regulations with that
and
stuff.
it's an exceptionally stressful job,
for sure. Anyways, I guess with all the the things that's been plaguing us the last year, so when they have so many people in the building. They move classes to night. We often have night classes anyways, but this last, they told us for 2 weeks, we're going to have a lot of night classes and we're going to have to bump you guys around. And here we are 8 weeks later, I'm back to my normal schedule. My schedule really did consist of like For example, last week I was scheduled to work 7 a.m. to midnight Monday, Tuesday 3:30 to midnight, come back in at 7 a.m. on Wednesday and work till midnight, and then Thursday go in at 3:30 and work till midnight. So I was getting forced overtime and crazy shifts and hours, and I'm still tired. To be honest, I took a nap before the show and I set my alarm and it didn't work, and I woke up like freaking out like Kevin's mom on Home Alone and panicked and everything else to make the show alone. And I'm still tired. Did this for a lot of time, didn't get to see my family, friends, or obviously do the show. So that's where I've been. I've still been reading comics like crazy. I'm going to save some of the things I really liked for when we kind of show and tell. And this recent weekend, I had a friend that turned 40, and like 3 years ago, he mentioned something about like, I'm going to tell my wife that he said something about like, I'm going to try to go on a retreat and invite some of my friends to go on this retreat and play board games all weekend. Well, his wife actually said he could do that a couple months ago. And this was before all this crazy work schedule happened. And he asked me if I could commit to it. And I said, sure. So we drove 3 hours away to Lake Tenkiller here in Oklahoma to a cabin. Oh. And the lady who rented the cabin to us, she was like, hey, I'm going to tell you all the fishing spots and the hiking places and where you can put your boat in the water. And I was like, this lady has no idea that we're probably never going to go outside. So we traveled out there with a car full of board games, and we did nothing all weekend except play board games. We took breaks just to eat. I just went off my keto diet to eat junk food all weekend. We played 3 games on Friday. We played 4 on that's not true. I think it was 3 games on Friday, 5 games on Saturday, and then I think 2 games on Sunday. Real quick, the list of games, if people are really caring about this, because I am going to mention a few of these again. There was 10 games, The Few and the Cursed, which was like a cowboy game, deck builder. We played a game called Mombasa, set during the like kind of colonial times or industrial colonial times of Africa. A game called Camel Up, where it's instead of horse racing, it's camels. It's great family game. So I'm telling you right now, I'm highly competitive. I hate losing. I love winning. I even get mad when I win. And I try not to. Gary can attest to this.
That's a problem, dude.
You get mad when you win?
I mean, sometimes, because maybe it didn't come like you wanted it or anything. But Camel Up is a really fun, kind of almost random game. And if you played it once, I promise you would go, I love this game. And win or lose, I love that game. The whole table laughs. They're chuckling. We're having a great time. Great game. We played a game called Root, a game called Cyclades, a game called Power Grid, where you're a power company and you get to power America.
That one looked cool. You shared pictures of that. That looked pretty cool.
I joked that so we're going to be, and you didn't have to power your cities if you didn't want to save money. And I teased that we were Texas at times because we weren't powering our company. Played a game called Dwellings of Evervale. And the guy who brought that game, he got the Kickstarter edition. So the little monsters, the little miniatures actually sat on the best way to describe it is let's act like this is round, and I put the miniature on top of it. And when you moved the monster, when he had to move, it would make little different sounds, like different growls or shrieks or something like that. So like the purple monster would be like, "Rrr," and the other one might roar or something like that. So it was really blinged out and pretty cool. That was kind of a fantasy game. There was another kind of fantasy setting game called Vindication that played kind of like a Euro style game and kind of a role playing game. A game called Trajan, which was very complicated. It's set like during the Roman times and stuff, where you had to feed the people, entertain the people, everything like that. And then there was a game called No Thanks. So first game I'm going to mention that I enjoyed over the weekend the most was a game called The Few and the Cursed. I want to describe it to everybody like it's like Demon Town, but you can't say that because only a few people in the world have read the short story Demon Town that Dirk wrote and Robert drew for an independent comic. But Demon Town basically is the Old West with like demons and monsters running around as bad guys. And that's what this game was. If you've ever played the game Shadows of Brimstone, which is heavy with miniatures and rolling dice, this has that same feel, except you have a character with his own deck, and you're deck building your character to try to play to that style, collect artifacts, slay bounties, and you add up the points at the end of the game. That game was so good that I was hoping my copy would be here today to show you, because I instantly bought it because I guess it was through Kickstarter, and it's based off a comic, like an independent comic, and I wanted to make sure I got the deluxe like edition Kickstarter stuff because it had just some cool components to it. So yeah, this weekend cost me $100 bones because I ordered it immediately. Another game I'm going to recommend to people who don't play board games, and I'm going to say some names, and I'm not trying to like pick on people. I just know that they have family and they don't play a ton of board games, but they always kind of interested in it. So I'm going to mention like Ronnie and Jeree for sure. Maybe even like Walt and them. There's a game called No Thanks, and this is a great, just beginner light game, and I'm going to explain it to you really quick. Everybody gets, I believe it's 10 tokens. They're just like little plastic pennies almost, little plastic tokens. Everybody gets like 11 of those things, and then you have a deck of cards that ranges between numbers 3 and 33. You shuffle the deck, you take off the top 9, throw those in the box so you don't know what numbers are in there, and then you pick somebody to go first, and if it was Dirk going first, I would flip over the top card of the deck, and the objective is you have to take that card unless you can put one of your little no thanks tokens on it. Now the no thanks tokens are worth -1 point as the game goes on. So at the end of the game, if you have 20 of these, you minus 20 points from your score because you want the lowest score. So if you're holding on to cards 3, 6, and 8, your total is 17. And if you had 10 of those tokens, your total is 7, and you're probably going to win the game. So you flip over the card and people can pass and say no thanks and put tokens on it. And then if you take that card because you're either stuck taking it or maybe you need some tokens, you get all those tokens that come with the card. So it's a very simple. I just told you the game. It's that simple. And even if you're saying I still don't understand, Scott, because maybe you didn't explain it well, I'm telling you, one round into the game, you go, oh, okay. There's one other rule in the game. If you could string numbers together, let's say you had bad luck and you got numbers 33, 32, 31, 30, 29. Since they all touch each other, they're in a string, you only have to accept that lowest number, which is 29. So there is some strategy to things. You know, like you might get stuck with a number 30, and you might go ahead and draft 29 because it's at the end of the game, you're not adding up. You don't have 59 points. You really only have 29. So it's a very neat little game. Sold at Wizards and stuff like that. We actually sell it all the time. This is the first time I've ever got to play that game. We played that game in less than 10 minutes. It was the last game of the weekend. We had to be out of there at 4 o'clock. We started at 3:48. So people who are family people and they want a simple game to show anybody, grandma, little kids, whatever, I'm recommending to you No Thanks or Camel Up. And to you people who like really themey games or even complex games, I'm going to say The Few and the Cursed is a great one. My friends don't have to buy it because I already did. Mobasa had some great mechanics in it. And overall, I took 4 of my board games, but we never got to them. So I got to experience playing, for the most part. I think there was one game I played before, and it was like two years prior since I played it. So it felt like playing a new game again. So, but that's all we did all weekend. We went to the lake on the way home. We were in the car, and the guy whose birthday bash it was, he was like, maybe we should go by the lake since we've been here.
So you guys didn't do a lot of fishing or anything out there?
We went outside to start the grill. And we are 4 men that didn't really come prepared. Like nobody brought lighter fluid or matches. Luckily, I bailed us all out because I brought a candle and I had one of those little lighters. and it saved the day. Everybody teased me for bringing a candle. What are you laughing? Dude, let me tell you something. When you're going to go stay somewhere for 3 days in the woods, what if it has a funky smell? I wanted to make sure my room smelled good, so I brought oranges, and it smelled amazing. And my lighter, me bringing my own lighter, helped us get some hamburgers. So,
dude, I spent many a weekends out at 10 Killer in their cabins and their little Sweet 16 hotel.
Yep.
And I would go scuba diving at the lake.
Well, we didn't do any of that,
smelled
dude.
like the lake water.
I can't tell you how many times I've been watching Bear Grylls, and he'll pull out like a strawberry scented candle to save the day. You know?
Yeah, it was great. I do want to talk about. There was a guy named Nathan who went up with us. I never met. I think I barely met him before I was mainly there for Brock. The other guys didn't know me very well either, so they didn't get full on crazy Scott. I was being as a good little church boy as I could.
By the way, people who are watching,
I didn't cuss all weekend. That's
people who are watching this show also do not get full on crazy Scott.
No, I was well behaved. I didn't cuss all weekend. But Nathan, he spent some time in Australia, and everybody else is bringing we're gonna make some sandwiches on ciabatta bread. I said I'm gonna buy pizza. The other guy was like, yeah, I'm gonna grill out some burgers. Nathan goes, I lived in Australia. How about some Australian food? So he made Australian meat pies, which were amazing. They were in this flaky pastry, amazing. He put mashed potatoes on it. Mashed peas, which I thought would be gross because, peas are okay anyways, but they roll around everywhere. I love mashed peas. They're amazing. And then you pour brown gravy on there. Anyways, you guys can laugh all you want.
Damn those peas. They're so hard to corral.
Anyways, the Australian style meat pie thing, the tower that had the brown gravy, you pour the brown gravy on it, was fantastic. So
I think a photo. You posted a photo, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
It looked fantastic.
It was great. I was like, dude, you have to give us this recipe. So I'm really planning on making those for my kids at some point. So it was a good time. It was with some good people. We had a good fun time. I've already, I've been in contact with one of the guys. He's probably already tired of me bugging him because I was talking board games and stuff with him since the trip and stuff. But anyways, it was a night where I told you what my week was like. I got the second shot of the thing that we're not supposed to talk about. So I was recovering from that during this weekend. Then we stayed up till 3 o'clock.
I've already said it 2 or 3 times.
we stayed up till 3 o'clock playing games, got up at 8 o'clock, played games all day. Sunday I woke up and I think I got 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep. And you would have thought I slept for a week. I just woke up and I'm like, I'm here. I feel great. Let's go walk on the water. But
we have some comments from some people.
Yeah.
Anthony says, "Don't play Blood Bowl with Scott. He glares at you and makes threats if you start winning."
No comment.
Wow. Walt says, speaking of power grids in Texas, they want us to conserve, and we ain't even in super hot season yet. So their routine is still not over. Jerry says that she'd be interested in playing that game. Walt says, Scott, I've got that Hail Hydra Marvel board game. I just need some players. Scott's
I haven't
ready to
played
play
that
all games.
Yeah, pretty much.
Jerry was laughing about the candle.
That's all right.
Sweet 16 Hotel.
Sean mentioned
and peace. Oh, okay, I missed it.
Okay.
I missed it. And peace. Oh God. Gigi says, have you just tuned in, dude? Because you are going to want to put this one in the record books. If you have missed this episode, you truly are going to want to make sure that you get this. He says, Mr. Hooper, you're delivering a command performance. Scott, Gary, and Sean are the perfect accessories, the masterpiece you're orchestrating tonight. Oh, Lord, you have an episode awaiting you, GG. Holy cats. All right. Is that it, Scott? Have we gone through your stuff? Oh my gosh, he said he just got home from church. Dude,
Well, this is the perfect episode
Run.
to wipe
Yeah, you'll
that.
need to
Do
go
not-
back to church if you
do
want
not
to.
wipe
walk.
that clean.
run to see the beginning to now, because we went right down the rabbit hole, baby.
I know. I've really brought down the show by coming
The
back.
Choctaw rabbit hole. Good Lord. All right, we're moving on to On Blast. All right, On Blast is just where we talk about stuff that we've been watching lately, reading, video games we've been playing, whatever. Something that you want to promote, you want everyone to know about. And first, we're going to go to our guest, Gary.
Well, I have nothing to promote, but I am a consumer. I'm definitely a consumer. So I will tell you that I mentioned this online the other day, that I have really rediscovered my love for individual comic books. A lot in the past, I used Comixology a lot just because it was so convenient. I'd go to Half Price Books and buy trade paperbacks. And just recently, in the last few months, I've started getting individual comics again. And at first, I started just picking up stuff that Scott was recommending. But reading some really great books right now. Batman and Catwoman I really enjoy. I love the art. And Tom King is doing a really nice job with that.
Do you know who's doing the art?
I don't.
Clay Mann, right?
Thank you.
Is it Clay Mann?
I don't know that artist.
He's done a lot of stuff for DC.
I'll check it out.
Yeah. Eternals I'm reading, and I don't know if I like that or not. I'm gonna follow it along. I think it's intriguing, and I know that it's Marvel's next big deal, so I want to follow it through. I haven't heard you guys talk about this, but I've been watching Invincible on Amazon Prime. Have you guys been watching that?
Oh yeah, I'm caught up.
I'm a episode and a half into Invincible.
Okay, so I'm not going to spoil anything, but I have read every issue of Invincible.
Oh,
and I really believe it's one of the greatest runs. I think it's Kirkman's greatest work, personally.
I agree, hands down.
I would agree with that.
I think it's better than Walking Dead.
Oh yeah.
And this is the best adaptation on TV of any. Like, it's much better, in my opinion, than the Walking Dead adaptation of Kirkman's work.
Wow.
And my son, who's 17, he's a senior in high school, did not know what Invincible was. And I was like, you just need to come in here and watch it with me. And the first episode is kind of like, just your average cartoon for about the first 35 of the 40 minutes episode. And then the last 5 minutes, your jaw hits the floor because it goes way off the rails. And my son is absolutely obsessed with that show now. In fact, I asked him, he loves Marvel, and I asked him, I said, hey, you can only have one, Invincible or the new Loki series that's coming out. Which do you want? He's like, Invincible, hands down. I've got to know what's happening with that. And in fact, he wants to go read all of my Invincible issues.
Wow.
So if you have not watched Invincible on Amazon Prime, I highly, highly recommend that. It is awesome.
Very cool, man.
I'm definitely going to regret selling my issues 1 through 100 10 years ago.
Yeah, you are.
You mentioned a thing called, what was it, Shadecraft?
Shadecraft, yeah.
And I picked it up on your recommendation and really enjoyed it. It was really good. The artwork is really good. I like the characters. The story's cool. That was a winner.
Yeah, I agree. It kind of jumps into it a little bit too fast for me. I don't like stories. I mean, there's not a lot of build up. It's just like, hey, here's this girl that sees demon shadows or whatever they are. You don't know yet.
I see demons.
But that's a side joke. Yes. But at the end, it kind of pays off, and the art is really beautiful. I'm a fan for sure. Scott, you need to pick that up.
It's good. I like that. I think that I've read some of the additional stuff on that, and apparently the people who created that have been doing some other comics prior to this. I mean, the writer was working with that artist previously, and with some other artists on some other projects, and now I'm interested in those as well.
Yeah, was it Skybound? Is that what they did?
I think that's it.
Yeah, Scott, I don't know anything about Skybound. Do you know that?
Skybound, I think, is Kurtman's company, if you want to know the truth.
Okay.
Or at least he kicked that off. I think Skybound Entertainment is Robert Kirkman's company.
Cool.
Oh.
So
this is an Image book, though, right?
I believe. Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Walt says that the bumpers sound great in surround sound.
Nice.
Very nice. All right, we're going.
No, I was just going to follow up with the Invincible stuff. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to watch it. I mean, I'm going to make sure me and Jennifer go through that show for sure. Yeah. That was a series that, believe it or not, even
it's not for the children.
10 years ago when I picked up the issues, I mean, like 10 years ago when I sold all my issues, I got like $1,000 for the first 100 issues because those first issues had low print runs, and I bought them for $1 because we couldn't sell them at Dragonfire at the time. Jim threw all those books into a dollar bin, and that's how I bought like the first 7 issues of Invincible, and the rest is history. It's a great series, and I said that for the longest time, but everybody wanted to just go crazy over Walking Dead, and it's always been one of Kurtman's things. If you wanted a story where Spider-Man starts off getting bit by a spider, grows up to become a man and go through all the trials and tribulations of that, and the pressure of life, not just superhero life, but life, and like I said, the character literally grows, you want to read Invincible.
Yeah, it's an epic story.
Right. So
it spans hundreds of years, not to spoil it.
Yeah. Sure.
One of my friends, he said he tried getting into Invincible, and he didn't care for the animation. And I'm sitting here singing the praises of it, and I said, if you're not going to watch it, take just a moment and watch the last 10 minutes of the first episode. And if you still don't want to watch it, I will leave you alone. I will not bother you. But that last 10 minutes will blow your mind.
And they're not made for Scott because they're like 45 minutes long. They're not 20 minutes like most animation.
Yeah,
it's bonus size episodes, but it's got a lot of good stuff in it.
The pacing is great. Everything moves.
The voice cast is insane. Mm-hmm. I mean, the people that they've got for that, we haven't talked about it because I haven't seen it. I'm not caught up, but we will talk about it soon. Sean, I'm going to go to you on Blast.
Well, I haven't. I've been working on several projects, so I haven't had a whole lot of time to really take in a whole lot. But over the weekend, I did watch Train to Busan Presents Peninsula. If you are a fan of zombie films, if you are a fan of Train to Busan, watch Peninsula. It is the action adventure sequel to the kind of more cerebral Train to Busan. So that was a lot of fun. It's currently streaming on Shudder. Which is funny, being that I had just bought the Blu-ray, but maybe a week prior. But anyway, lots of fun. Enjoying that.
All right. Scott, you're up.
Real quick, I'm going to go through some things because I had a birthday during this whole time of all this crazy work.
What says to watch Invincible?
These toys, I found these finally at Walmart. These are like the Generation 1 toys. These are not like Transformers in the fact that you're going to go transform this, but do you remember how the characters looked on the TV show?
So
that's how these action.
These are just action figures.
This is an action figure of what the robot looked like in the cartoon, which I've wanted something like this forever. So here's a Soundwave. I got an Optimus Prime. It even comes with the little pieces, as you can see, like in the cartoon when he battles Megatron. I saw these months ago, right after Christmas. I didn't pull the trigger. I went back. They were all gone. I found these by accident, and I had some birthday cash in my pocket. And so I was actually going to buy these and like do a Prime review where I open them and pose them and stuff, but that obviously hasn't happened yet. So those are called the Red Series, which stands for Robot Enhanced Design. They're just beautiful thing. I mean, that looks just like Megatron from the cartoon. And I'm telling you right now, if you're a fan of this show and you kind of like me, if you see a Starscream one that should come out anytime now, I really want one. And I'm being
putting in an order.
No, I'm being dead serious right now. If you see one, you pick it up and you contact me. and I'll pay you for it to ship it to me or whatever.
How much were those?
Those were $20 each.
Oh, that's not bad.
And I think they're only at Walmart, I think. But I've seen them online too, so I don't know what the real gimmick is. Walt probably knows better than I do. Comics real quick. If you're a fan or were a fan of Wonder Woman, I think it's called Dead Earth by Daniel Warren Johnson for DC. He's now doing Beta Ray Bill, like this miniseries of Beta Ray Bill.
Nice.
I love his art. I love, he does the art, the story, and all that stuff. It's just good stuff. It's not Paul Pope, but what I'm going to say is it kind of reminds me of if somebody took Paul Pope and did superhero stuff with it.
Dude, I am a big Paul Pope fan.
Well, look at that and just tell me if that's what you get from it too. So
all right.
Do some research on that. I could be describing it wrong.
Give me his name again.
Daniel Warren Johnson. And you can look up his Wonder Woman stuff. Wonder Woman Dead Earth is what it was like. I don't know if it was original graphic novel or what. These recently came out. It was about this time last year that I think we talked about Allegiance comics coming out at Walmart. They're going to be $4.98. And then when we got them at Walmart, not only do they have the barcode on the back, but Walmart, in Walmart fashion, had to put a sticker on top of it because it's Walmart. And nobody reads at Walmart. Anyways, the first couple issues, I remember going to Walmart, finding them. It felt like we talked earlier about going to the local gas station and finding something you can't find at the store. So it was kind of thrilling to get those first 4 issues, and I read them. And then I found out like a week later that the second issues came out, and then we didn't have anything. And so they were trying to work with Walmart, I think, to get the sticker problem done and distribution and stuff. These came out at Walmart just a couple weeks ago. It's issue number 3 or episode number 3 of all 4 books. Nora's Saga. We have Bass Reeves, which is like, the Lone Ranger, basically. That's what they base the Lone Ranger off of. We have Nora's Saga, Red Rooster, which is like a kind of set in the 30s. And then we have the Futurists. I want to say, like, going into this, Bass Reeves, I was like so on, and the Futurist, I was so on. After I went ahead and went back and read issues 1 and 2 to read with number 3, man, 3 is the sweet spot. It just builds up. I love all 4 of these books. I can't tell you like which one I like the best after reading number 3 of each book. So if you are out there, you maybe bought number 1. I know Gary bought at least number 1. I was highly suggest going back, reading 1, 2, and 3 all at the same time. They're really fantastic books. So if you want something different that's not Marvel or DC, and you want to go to Walmart to buy issue 3 of that, you can do that. Also, during my time, since I was working a lot, means I had breaks and plenty of time to read, I finally cracked open my complete the Marvel supervillain team-up thing from like the 1970s, where it's like most of the stories is Doctor Doom and Submariner not getting along, but kind of getting along because they both think they're doing the right thing, even though they're bad guys. And it's written, by like Roy Thomas, who I don't want to like. Roy Thomas had his style, and it worked during the 70s. I'll just say that. He's not my favorite writer, but he's not the worst writer I've ever read in the world. But it's very that 70s Marvel style, which, while I say like he's not my favorite writer, I'm finding out like I really love like 70s era Marvel comics because there's something magical about that time for some reason.
I agree with that.
I
have gone back on Comixology and looked for some of those.
Yeah, it's just something weird and crazy about that era of comics where I think everybody was trying to do like kung fu stories and guys riding around America on a motorcycle with no money somehow, stuff like that. So anyways, good stuff. I'm about 100 pages in. I'm enjoying it. Not the greatest thing in the world, but I've wanted to read that series ever since I was a kid. I didn't pick up the issues, and of course, like everything now, everything that I should have bought back then is, it's hard to get the original copies. Last thing I'm going to talk about is during this break, I don't know if I've mentioned it, Super Show, the Steel Cage pack came out. that features the art of the 3 characters I did. It also had the artwork of that Robert did, that Dirk did, and Sean did. Those cards were in here as well. So we've all our artwork's been out there now, and people are getting it in their hands. And I've heard a lot of good feedback from our pictures that we did for Steve Risk and Super Show. So if you're interested in owning some of us, get out there and go to supershow.com, and you can. I think they still have some of these. I know they were selling like crazy at first, and you can go get you some original stuff by the Ranking Studios guys. I just saw Steve actually today. He opened a new box of stuff, of reprinted stuff, and some other new characters. And I'm going to have another character that Dirk helped me color a few of the pieces on. That is published, Dirk. So we should see those in our hands, eventually soon. So of the Law and Paw connection that we did. So anyways, that's all I have to say. I finally got to watch Falcon Winter Soldier, just the first 2 episodes. It's not Vision and Scarlet Witch, but that was a hard thing to follow up. I mean, I think that's not unfair to say that. I think if we would have got Falcon Winter Soldier first, we'd have been just as happy. So I'll wait until I catch up before I say if I love it or hate it or anything like that. I don't hate it. It's just slower.
So let me say about that really quickly. So have you guys watched the whole series, Sean and Dirk?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I love the first episode. The second and third episode, I was bored. The fourth episode I thought was great. It really, and I understand now because Mackie in an interview said that it's a 6-hour movie, and if you think about it, when it's not filmed episodically. When it's not filmed episodically, you're going to have this down kind of slow burn as it goes up to the mid, as it tries to crescendo up to the finale. So now we're past the halfway point, and it's picking up speed big time. I thought the 4th episode ending just launches it off, and I'm really excited again to see where it goes. But I'm like you, Scott. The second and third episode, I watched it and I was like, it's kind of boring, I think. But 4th episode was great. I
loved this thing from beginning to end, and I mean, Sean and I were kind of talking about this the other day. I desperately want more series with these guys, and these 2 characters are becoming, favorites of mine. They're street level guys. It wouldn't be as much. It's kind of like an 80s buddy cop movie. That's kind of the thing that they're doing. And they are definitely, they're going to the next level. And I've heard that there's going to be some sort of appearance or something in the next episode that's going to supposedly be a big deal.
Yeah. Walt, you need to wait a week before you start saying spoilers, bro. I'm going to have to unfollow Walt because he's spoiled almost every episode, and I know he's excited. And I'm not really mad. If I cared enough, I'd watch it as soon as it happens.
You need to watch it at 3 a.m. on Friday morning.
Oh, I know one last thing I wanted to speak of. Sean, you following up on Winter Soldier? Go for it. My thing's totally different.
I was just going to say they recently came. I think it was yesterday. They came out with a mid-season trailer for Falcon and Winter Soldier, announcing only 2 more episodes and kind of giving you a preview of what's coming. And it literally gave me chills. There's one scene in that you're just like, oh shit, this is going to be awesome. You can feel where this is going.
Is it the last scene in that little trailer? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. Now I'm a huge Anthony Mackie fan, and going back to 8 Mile when he rap battled with Eminem. I've been a fan of his for quite a while.
Damn, dude.
And
that's a deep cut.
I'm saying I dig that guy. He's really cool. And you were talking about Dirk. You were talking about these characters becoming your favorites. I've never cared for Bucky. Ever.
Amen.
Reading the comics, I couldn't give 2 flips for Bucky.
No.
When you
Captain
find
America
out,
for that fact.
Absolutely. And the MCU changed all of that for me. And literally at this point, if you gave Sebastian Stan his own movie, I'd be throwing money at the screen, because he's just really turned a very simple, plain, innocuous character into something so much more grand, and I'm really blown away with everything that they're doing. So keep it going, guys. I'm really enjoying it. To you, Scott.
What?
Oh.
Walt says that he's talking about Hasbro Pulse. Does that mean anything to you? And he says that he'll check to see if Starscream is still available.
Insert evil laugh here.
And regarding spoiling the stuff, insert evil laugh here.
Of course. Real quick, and I'm not going to talk about it long because I know we're already long-winded here, and I can talk forever. This weekend on Saturday, WrestleMania was 2 days, and they performed in a live crowd for the first time since all this stuff happened.
Oh.
They said, I think it was a year, 1 year, 1 month, 1 day on Saturday that they had to start doing stuff with no crowds. And whether you love pro wrestling or you hate pro wrestling or you just can't accept the reality that it's a sport that's made up, I don't want to hear that. I heard that from the gamer guys. They were like, this is fake. And I waited a little bit, and then I started talking about Star Wars. And when they got excited, I reminded them that Star Wars is fake, to make my point. But I had it on in the background Saturday, so I couldn't listen to it, because we didn't want to distract from the games. And it was funny how everybody still, whether they hate it or not, they remember watching it and being magical as a kid, so they got caught up watching it. Sunday night, I got to watch it live and hear the crowd. It felt really good for those guys who go perform in the wrestling ring, and put their bodies on the line. They get paid a lot, don't get me wrong, but they have to stay in shape all the time. And then they have to fall off a house basically 30 times a night to make a living for their family. And they'll pay the price for that one day. It was nice seeing those guys come out, and they would just you could tell a lot of them went,
they missed it. Gosh,
I missed this. And maybe I really appreciate this now. I'm not going to be a butthole about things going forward. And I don't think they give a crap behind the scenes politics, whether I had to go out here and lose tonight. They were happy to just go out there and perform. They on night one at WrestleMania, I think this is a big deal because for a long time I said Vince McMahon has not ever had an African-American champion. And Dirk knows I've talked about this for a long time. For the main event on WrestleMania night
20 years.
On the main event on WrestleMania night 1, there was 2 African-American women fighting over the championship in the main event, and they did a fantastic job. And from what I haven't gone back and rewatched it, but from what I heard, the crowd was just so amped up for it. Both girls got emotional. And before anybody says it's because they're girls, they got emotional. Stop that. It was a historic moment for women's pro wrestling. Hearing the crowd for the first time in a year plus, they both got emotional, and then you can kind of see them kind of shake it off and say let's just go have fun. And of course the good guy got over a rookie person and stuff like that. So I, as a fan of pro wrestling, enjoyed WrestleMania tremendously this year, but I couldn't tell you it's because of good matches or good storylines, because the storylines kind of sucked coming in. It was nice to hear the crowd again. And I'm telling you, we're going to feel that same way come college football season with big, giant crowds and everything else. We're going to feel that again, and it's a good feeling. So
Gigi says EF dub. I mean, that's an inside joke. My on blast is something that is called Drink and Draw. And I want you to imagine something like Taskforce Geek, where some friends get together, but instead of us, the friends are Joe Quesada, Dave Johnson, Frank Cho, and Dan Panosian, and they're drinking, and they're busting each other's balls, and they are drawing that, I mean, these are some of the best artists, three of my favorite artists out there are doing, complete pieces during the course of the hour and a half that they're on the show. Sean introduced me to this thing. I don't know why, YouTube's algorithm is terrible for not suggesting this, but it's literally like, several, and they have a rotating cast of guys, but typically Joe Quesada, Dave Johnson, and Dan Panosian is on there, and then they, invite an additional artist in there, and just watch it. It's a thrill to watch some of these really amazing artists produce something, right there in front of you. They're all doing it. Dave Finch does a thing like that, but it's just him drawing. This is 4 people drawing and doing this stuff, and they're drinking and they know each other well. So, you get a little bit of you get some of their inside jokes and stuff, which
you get
is
some
fun.
Rob Dad stories.
You get a few Rob Dad stories among those guys, and it's just a lot of, they've known each other for a long time. So it has many elements to it. It's only about an hour and a half, and it's been around for, how long, Sean? 2 years?
2 years.
And they have a bunch of, just go to their YouTube channel. It's called Drink and Draw. And just look through there. You're bound to see someone that you're interested. If you're not interested in the main guys, they've had some really great guests on there too that hang out and draw cool stuff. All right, that's it, guys.
And might I add that Frank Cho can drink. Dear God,
dude, he went from the bottle
straight from the
while
bottle.
he was. And was drawing legitimately right there in front of everyone. And he can hold his liquor.
Boy. Respect.
For real. All right, it's promo time. We're not going to break away from this. So, Scott, you want to talk about your stuffs?
If you want to catch me, you can go over to bothdown.com where I do a Blood Bowl podcast almost every month. That streak got broken with all this me working and everything like that, but we did manage to produce an episode for last month, so you can go over there, here's some Blood Bowl talk with me and Steve. If you want to buy some of our artwork and support the Ranking guys, you can go to supershow.com, I believe it is, or maybe it's called supershowthegame.com is the actual website, and you can look for the Steel Cage pack with my cover art, because they're about to release a second Steel Cage thing with different cards and stuff in there. So it's actually kind of neat. If you are wanting to get into the game, it comes with a competitor and a Steel Cage like a scenario, a dice, and a character. So you could get everything to play in one of these. So
if you pick that up and we go to conventions, you can have us sign it.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go.
All right. Gary, do you have anything that you want to promote?
Oh, yeah. If you want to see me, just get on YouTube for the 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder Miami Heat Finals Game 1. You get great airtime in that.
There you go.
There you go. There's my guy.
Gary Cam.
Go ahead. Yeah, just go ahead. No, I don't have anything.
We need to edit a Gary Cam.
Only Gary shots?
Yes.
For the past 13 years?
Yes, from all the Thunder games.
It's epic. It's epic. Let me tell
I can't tell you how many times my dad would randomly call me and go, "We had Thunder game on. I think I saw Gary. I think I just saw Gary." And I was like, "Dad, he works out there. Of course you're going to see Gary."
He's right there.
Yeah.
You got any Scott stories or Gary stories you want to tell from younger years?
Do I?
Yeah.
No, we need to be drinking for those stories to come.
Pump, do you want to ask that question earlier?
There, we have lots of content. Let me just tell you that.
lot of near fights back in those days.
Yeah. Don't play 21 basketball against Scott. Let me just put it that way.
Unlimited fouls, all I can say.
Yeah, you took advantage of it.
Some things never change.
Yeah. Actually, the weather tonight reminds me of that. We one night we played basketball and there was a thunderstorm raging all through Choctaw, and we were out there shooting hoops.
Yeah, until about 3 o'clock in the morning, if I remember right. It was crazy.
Where are our parents, by the way? Thunderstorm. We're out in the streets.
Gary, don't you look back at you have teenagers now. I have teenagers, and I'm thinking, did my parents just not care about us?
They were like, I think about that too. They just, hey, we're going to walk to Choctaw, which is like, walk downtown. We're going to walk to the gas station. And our parents were like, whatever, go ahead.
I know.
Those were different days.
My wife won't even let our kids walk to the end of the street.
My mom left me at Sears while she went grocery shopping, and I would go through and look at the action figures there. I was by myself for an hour.
I know.
Or whatever. I was close, but not, really. We were in two different buildings and stuff.
The 70s and 80s were different times for sure. People just didn't care.
Well, I think it was just as dangerous. We just didn't have the proliferation of information that we do now.
That's so true.
Now people think there's a perv on every corner. Maybe there is, but we, back then our parents were like, I don't know where they're going. It's a school night. You
that
can
is
go
very
to Scott's
true.
and stay, whatever. I don't care.
I think all the time about my parents just didn't care.
I think they did. They just wrongfully trusted us. That's all.
Wrongfully trusted us.
I can honestly say my dad had kind of a Spartan mentality about the whole thing. Anytime I would suggest doing something completely stupid, he'd be like, "Go for it. Let's see what happens." I mean, literally, Mom would always be like, "No, we've got to protect him." Dad's like, "He'll only do it once. Just let him go."
It's a learning process.
Right.
Let him pull that TV down on his head. Let's see what happens.
I mean, growing up, Gary, we lived for a while. We lived Robert's house was a mile and a half away. Yours was a mile and a half away.
Right.
And we just go over Robert's. Our parents never go, call us when you get there.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you got there. And we didn't have cell phones. They just didn't care.
No, they just wandered the streets. It's a good thing we lived out in the country. That's all I can say.
I guess.
Walt says, by the way, you should know Facebook is automatically captioning the show.
No, that's not good.
That is both good and bad. He said, I guess the sound is off on the phone app or something. Anyway, that's crazy. That's crazy that it's in real time.
By the way, I want to say earlier, who was it that said they were listening to the thunder and watching us?
That was Walt's mom.
Right.
Yeah, I think she was actually listening to the weather because the Thunder game hadn't even started yet.
Oh.
So we're talking to her about point spreads, and she's like, "I'm listening to the Thunder."
She's like white people.
Oh my Lord. Steve says, amazing again. Thanks, guys. Nice to meet you, Gary. Welcome back, Scott and Miss Prime.
Thank you, Steve. Nice to see you on the show as well, Steve. So
he had the guts to be on here.
Yeah.
Sean, do your rundown there, buddy.
Okay. Obviously, you can catch me and my studio mates at rankingstudios.com. Please stop by, check out any artwork that we've got up there. Any projects that we've got upcoming, drop us a line. Let us know what you think. Also, you can catch us at Facebook.com/Ranking Studios. Same thing. Check out any new projects that we've got upcoming. And please feel free to stop by and give us a chime, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's
We
just
got a lot
poking
of art
fun
up there.
at Rob's Masked Avenger Dad. Just drop us a line. Let us know what you're thinking.
Hey, I do have a comic book idea to pitch to you guys off the air. So
Awesome.
I think I mentioned it, Scott. Scott and I talked about it one night.
Yep.
Yeah, we want to hear it. All right, there's all my silly stuff. I'm also at Ranking Studios. I'm on Twitter at Dark Hooper Plus. I'm at LinkedIn at Dark Hooper Plus. I'm on TikTok now, bitches, at Dark Hooper, and on Facebook, Dark Hooper Artworks. You can see my artwork and stuff on there. That's
I noticed I didn't get a scroll.
That's
I'm the
my
first
stuff.
guy that used the scroll.
No, that's incorrect. You did have a scroll.
You
Go
had a
back and look
scroll?
at it.
Oh, okay.
You're just so absorbed in yourself, you didn't notice it.
I like
Thank
looking
you, Gary.
at this handsome man right here. I missed him. Whoever this guy is, you should
Thank you,
have
Gary.
him back.
Narcissist.
all you people that complain about not getting on the show before we wrap this thing up, it's now time to put in your comments. Does anyone have anything that they want to add before we bring it home?
I appreciate you guys having me on tonight. I mean, I don't
you did great.
Anything, but I am a consumer and I love the show. I try to tune in just every week if I can, and I really appreciate it.
Well, look, Gary, you always chime in on many or if not all of the episodes, and you always have something great to say. And I think that if there was any question about it after tonight's performance and the stuff that you brought here, there's no doubt left.
Well, I'm opinionated.
Besides, you're from Choctaw.
That's all it takes, man.
If we had
being
Rob
able to
here,
articulate your opinion.
if we had Rob here instead of Dirk, we could have a full Choctaw cast.
You know what? There should be a fifth box right in the middle just with Rob. And he doesn't even have to have his mic on. He could just start shaking his head.
Just be the target of everyone's ire.
You love Rob. Listen, I will say this. Scott and I say this all the time. Other than his mom, there's no one on earth that loves Rob more than Scott and I. So
that's for sure. I think it's safe to say we might love Rob more than Rob loves Rob. Because sometimes I want to punch the dad in me wants to punch that knucklehead, but yeah, we're always here for each other. And
look, and I mean, I haven't known you guys for 35 years, but I've known you guys for 30 years. It's been, since the early 90s, which is still pretty amazing. And it is, this week is, one of the days was National Sibling Day. And I don't have any siblings, but you guys are about the closest I'm ever going to get. That's for sure. So
the beautiful thing about really good friends, and I mean like really good friends, the people you can trust and the people who are there when you're crying or picking you up when you need them the most, is you get to choose them. Your family, you do not get to choose. Most people, true. If you put truth serums in them, they don't want to hang out with their family. By default, we love them, but we don't really like them. Our people are our people. And I'm being serious. I've said that for years, that my friends are extended versions of my really close-knit family.
Absolutely. Unquestionably.
And I mean, that's not a knock against my family. It's just I love my aunt. She'll do anything for me, and I'll go help her. But you guys know me more than she does. That's just truth.
Who has friends for 3 decades? It's unusual.
People at work are blown away with how many friends good friends I have, and how long I've had relationships. And I'll always be rich in that, and that's what I get in life, and I'm okay with that.
It's pretty awesome. Pretty awesome.
What a touching ending of this show.
Wow.
No, it's true though.
Walt says, "Great show, thank you, Walt."
All right, well, let's wrap this thing up.
All right, well, we're in our 4th hour now, and it's probably time to be done. Hey, thanks to everyone for watching us. We sure do appreciate it. Please leave a like or share wherever you see this thing, and comments. YouTube really wants some comments for whatever reason. So when we do publish this thing on YouTube, please leave us some comments. I appreciate it. For Scott, for Sean, and for Gary, this is Dirk Hooper saying dream hard.